Hi everyone, this is Todd Lyon, and it's my book talk. And so, funny thing, when I started looking at the assignment for this, for the assignment, I was thinking about doing Scythe by Neil Shusterman, but come to find out, that's the example that we got to go by this time. So I'm not going to do that one, although it's a great book. I totally recommend it. It's a trilogy. It's great. So I have another trilogy in front of me. It's called The Fifth Wave. It's written by Rick Yancey and it was published in 2013. The reason why I like it so much, it's young adult and it's science fiction. And again, the reason why I like it so much is because I teach literature and astronomy. So this is a story about an alien invasion. So it's two of my favorite things. But what I like on it is the biggest thing I like on it is that it's a fresh take on the trope, right? Like so when you think of alien invasions, you think of War of the Worlds, right? Where the Martians are coming down and they're blowing things up in the street and there's chaos, and then the story goes it's humans versus aliens. We all band together and win the war, right? Whereas this in this book you hardly see the aliens at all. You know of their presence because, they've got like surveillance drones floating around in the city. But what the setting is just a post-apocalyptic situation where the plot focuses on how the humans interact with each other and how we would become as a species, right? After all this stuff is taken away from us, the electricity, the civilization, the infrastructure that we all rely on, how would we all interact with each other? And so there's this underlying tone the whole time. It's a creepy tone because the big thing is the aliens actually get to take on your identity. Like they can look like a human, right? So nobody is sure of each other. And so that's where we get this really good tone of like who's who can I trust, how am I going to go about my life? The simplest of interactions wind up being some of the more tense situations. So again, it's not that you're seeing like big these big battles and things like that, but it's just this underlying like just creepy tense feeling throughout the book. The author does a really good job of portraying that. So here's an example, right? Cassie, the main character, this is at the beginning of the book. So she is going about her business, going through everything. And you know what? I lost my page. Hang on. Okay, lost my page. But yeah, so Cassie, the main character, she is going about her business and she's rummaging through stores and things like that. And she comes across a soldier. And it's a soldier that's about her age. She's this, teenager years. And this guy, he's laying in the store and he's been injured, he's dying, and they have an exchange with each other. How do I know you're a human? How do I know you're a human? And they go back and forth. And so the soldier goes, I'm dying, he says matter of factly. From this distance, his eyes were just pinpricks of reflected light. So you can either finish me off or you can help me. They're both armed in this situation. He says, I know you're human. Well, how do you know? I asked quickly, before he could die on me. Because if you weren't, you would have shot me already. He smiled again, his cheeks dimpled, and that's when it hit me how young he was. He was only a couple years older than me. See? That's how you know too. How do I know what? My eyes were tearing up. His crumpled up body wriggled in my vision like an image in a funhouse mirror. But that I didn't dare release my grip on the rifle to rub my eyes. He says that I'm human. If I wasn't, I would have shot you. And that made sense. Or did it make sense because I wanted it to make sense? Maybe he dropped his gun to get me to drop mine, and once I did, the second gun was hiding under his fatigues, would come out, and the bullet will say hello to my brain. This is what they call the aliens in the book. They're called the others. This is what the others have done to us. You can't band together to fight without trust, and without trust, there was no hope. How do you rid the earth of humans? Well, you rid the humans of their humanity. So she's telling him, I need to see your other hand. Well, he's holding his gut. And he says, well, maybe my stomach will fall out if I move my hand. And so they have another one of those tense back and forth, and she ultimately winds up killing him. It turns out that he was trying to pull out a crucifix to wind up proving his humanity. So then, as far as that goes, that did a really good job of, explaining or showing rather how, the humans can't really trust each other. And there were no aliens in that situation. It was just these two people not knowing if they could get along. Another way that they do a really good job of explaining how the world has changed was they reference something called the hum. And ever since I've read this book, I've noticed the hum myself in real life. She says the creepiest thing, creepier than the abandoned cars and the snarl of crumpled metal and the broken glass sparkling in the October sunlight, creepier than all of that is the silence of the world. The hum is gone. You remember the hum. Unless you grew up on top of a mountain or lived in a cave your whole life, the hum was always around you. That's what life was. It was the sea that we swam in, the constant sound of all the things that we built to make life easy and a little less boring. The mechanical song, the electronic symphony, the hum of all of our things and all of us was gone. This silence is the sound of the earth before we conquered it. Sometimes in my tent, late at night, I think that I can hear the stars scraping against the sky. That's how quiet it is. And after a while, it's almost more than I can stand. I want to scream at the top of my lungs. I want to sing, shout, stamp my feet, clap my hands, anything to declare my presence. My conversation with the soldier, the one that she just shot, had been the first words I had said out loud in weeks. The hum died on the 10th day after their arrival. And she goes on to talk about how she was sitting there texting her friend, and it was the last text message that she would ever send. She didn't even know it. She didn't even know what it was in the first place. But that, that sound, the hum, is, you got to admit, you hear it all around you all the time, and then the world is so quiet in her universe. And that's what leads to the uncanniness of the uncanny feeling of this entire book. So they made a movie out of it. 0 out of 10. Do not recommend. It's on Netflix. It's awful. It's a total disservice to the plot. And it's one of those things where the movie changes so much that by the time you were to get to the third book, then all of these things that took place in the first book would be impossible, just because of how they screwed with the movie so bad. So don't check that out. Go straight to the book. One last thing I like about it is that it changes points of view. You have different characters, but it focuses on Cassie. Cassie goes, her mother dies, her father dies, she has to take care of her little brother for a while, and all of these points of view show up in the book, including some of the people that she meets along the way. So overall, it's a fresh take on an old trope. Me being, the astronomy nerd and the literature nerd, I love it. I think the author did a great job of, just taking a fresh take on the post-apocalyptic world.